Hi, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm not in the Joe Blog studio today. I'm actually down at the beach, got the sea behind me here. And the reason I wanted to make this video is that when I come on holiday, it's usually the only time of the year that I read books. It's, you're relaxing, you want to just sort of chill out, tune out, go into a different world, bit of fantasy, bit of sort of fun. And I was thinking about books. Now, you may or may not know that I've written 2 books. So I wrote one a while ago, which was a sort of almost like a coming of age type book. I incorporated a lot of stories that I'd gathered in my youth and put it together into a novel. I'll tell you about it in a different video. I may republish it and see whether or not we can get any sales going for that book. And then the second book that I wrote, I set out to write something that I thought would be popular. So rather than writing about something I was interested in or something I had a big passion about, I thought I'll write something for the market. And it was a fantasy book and started off quite well, but I found it to be quite difficult in terms of my heart wasn't really in it. So I don't think it came out that well. I'll let you have the details of that one as well if anybody's interested in either of my 2 previous books. But it got me thinking, because I've always thought about writing some more books, but it is a time-consuming process. It does take months. You have to be at your desk a lot of the time. I set myself a task of 3,000 words a day when I wrote my first 2 books, and that's relatively challenging. It takes, some hours each day, depends how productive you are each day. But today is a very different world. We're in the world of AI, and I can tell you that most things that get done today have an element of AI in them. Maybe traditional authors don't use any sort of AI, but a lot of younger people now are using AI. Sometimes it's just to sense check things or to improve things, or in a lot of cases, people are using AI as a starting point. And I thought it'd be a really interesting challenge to see whether or not we could write an international bestseller with the help of AI. So the idea here is that we'll come up with the idea, the concept, the big picture. So we'll be in control of the narrative and what it's going to be about. But in terms of actually a lot of the legwork of those 3,000 words a day and all of those sort of things, we can get AI to get involved in that. Now, obviously, AI can be very clunky. It can be very repetitive or just write things in a manner that nobody would actually write or want to read. So it's going to take a bit of work. It's going to be a lot of editing needed to go back in and say, that doesn't work, rewrite that, this isn't consistent, all of those sort of things. So I don't think it's as easy as just saying, AI, write me a book, and the book is produced. It's going to be quite a long process, but I think it'd be a really interesting process. And I wanted to see if you wanted to get involved in this, because it really is a blank page, a genuine blank page. Now, in terms of the genres, I was having a look at what the most popular genres are, because clearly, if you're going to write an international bestseller, it's a good idea to pick a genre that's popular. Don't pick something that's too niche. So we've got fantasy, which I touched on before. I'm not a massive fan of fantasy, but it is a big genre. But I think you have to be in that world where you're sort of thinking about dragons and magic and those sorts of things a lot. It doesn't prey on my mind too much. So we've got fantasy, we've got romance, which is huge. But again, it tends to be a certain type of writer, certain type of reader. It's not the sort of novels that I read. I don't read a lot of romantic novels, well, none, in fact. And then we've got thrillers. And I think thrillers is probably the genre that fits best, because it's huge. Everybody loves a thriller. What's going to happen? What's happening? What is the thrill about? So in terms of the type of thriller, I thought it was worth throwing the question open to you. So crime thrillers are very popular, as are psychological thrillers, where there's some sort of something going on that you don't find out until the end, some big twist. Horror thrillers are very popular, and then financial crime thrillers, which I think is a sort of developing genre, and is certainly something that I'm quite interested in. If you've followed the channel, you'll know I've made quite a lot of videos about fraud and financial crime, which I think is a really interesting topic. So they're the 4 genres that I'm going to put to you. I'll put a poll up. So I'll put a poll up and see which one is most popular. And whichever one wins that poll, that's the genre that we're going to focus on. Now, the second question that I wanted to ask you is whether or not we should have a male lead character or a female lead character. So I'll leave that one open to you. Again, I'll open the poll to see whether or not it should be a male or female lead character. One of the reasons I started this idea is that every time I come on holiday, one of the books that I pick up from the airport, because there's usually a new one available, is by Lee Child, and it's the Jack Reacher series. Now, I don't know whether you're familiar with it or not, but Jack Reacher is basically ex-military, sort of 6'5", 250-pound giant who wanders around the US, basically putting wrongs right. So he usually finds some injustice that's going on, and then he will put it right. Not for monetary purposes, he does it just because he doesn't like people being preyed upon. And so the books have the same lead character in all of them, but it's in a different setting, different story, but you're sort of familiar with the novel before you've started because you know that lead character. So I think a lead character is important, but we've just got to decide whether we want a male or female lead character. And then I guess the other thing is, where do we set this? Should it be an international crime, psychological, horror, financial thriller, or should it be based in one particular country? Should it be in New York or London or Europe, or where should we do it? So that's the other question that I'm going to throw open to you. So based on those questions, I will then start working with AI on chapter 1 of this novel. We won't have a title for it yet. We're just going to call it Project Bestseller. So we'll see exactly what we come up with. Everybody please vote off the back of this and let me know what you think of this concept, because I think it's going to be a fun experiment. And now I'm down here at the beach, it's the sort of thing that, when you come away, it does change your perspective. You get away from your everyday routine, and basically, you can start thinking outside the box, coming up with different sorts of concepts and ideas and proposals. And that's exactly what I've come up with now. And I thought I'd strike while the iron's hot, while I am still literally down here at the beach. I've got sand in my toes right now to get the ball rolling on this one. So let me know what you think, and it will be an interesting journey, because what I'm going to do, I think, is make a video on each chapter. So we'll do the first chapter and then come back for feedback, see what everybody thinks, talk about where we think the story should go, whether or not, what should happen. So I'll put some polls out, we'll have a vote to see what everybody wants the direction to go, and we can shape this novel. And then at the end of it, hopefully, 20 chapters in, we might have an international bestseller on our hands, but that remains to be seen. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching me down here at the beach. There's one of these floating amusement parks in the sea behind me. I've enjoyed my chat. I've enjoyed my walk. Hopefully you have too. I'll see you again on the next video. And don't forget to vote in those polls, please. Oh, and also give me a thumbs up. Maybe hype this video, give it a bit more boost. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Maybe it's the first time you've ever seen me. Please subscribe and follow this journey of writing an international bestseller with the help of AI.